Record. Good afternoon. This is the February 2021 meeting of the Minneapolis Neighborhood Revitalization Program Policy Board, which will now begin. My name is Jeffrey Strand. I am the, interim chair of the NRP due to the transition of the former chair. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota statutes, Section 13D.021, due to the declared local health pandemic. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so that we may verify the presence of a quorum.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Calles-Claudio.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Strand.
Present.
Commissioner Kimmons.
Present.
Commissioner Reich.
Here.
Commissioner Elamine.
Here.
Commissioner Torres-Ray. Commissioner Hassan. Commissioner Wise. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Secretary Gallagher. And with that, we'll proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's Legislative Information Management System, or LIMS, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. So the proposed regular meeting agenda for February 16th, 2021, 5 p.m. NRP Policy Board meeting as posted on Minneapolis LIMS. When making a motion in the second, please identify yourselves, colleagues. So the on the adoption of the agenda, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is that Councilmember Commissioner Reich?
Correct.
Okay. Is there
Commissioner
a
Queen,
second.
like a second.
Kimmons seconds. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor. We'll do a roll call again with Mr. Gallagher.
Commissioner Calles-Claudio.
Aye.
Commissioner Strand.
Aye.
Commissioner Kimmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Reich.
Aye.
Commissioner Elamine.
Yes.
Thank you. We have 5 ayes.
Very good. We have the next item 3 is acceptance of the minutes from December 15, 2020 NRP Policy Board meeting. And so if members have had an opportunity to look at those, and if there are any, again, if there's a motion to approve and a second, and then we can, unless there are any corrections or additions.
Move as submitted. Commissioner Reich.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second, Commissioner.
Calles-Claudio, second. So is there any further discussion on the minutes of December 15th, 2020? Seeing none, seeing no hands raised, we will have Mr. Gallagher do the roll call again.
Commissioner Calles-Claudio.
Aye.
Commissioner Strand.
Aye.
Commissioner Kimmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Reich.
Aye.
Commissioner Elamine.
Yes.
Thank you. We have 5 ayes and passes.
Very good. So item 4 on the agenda is open public comment. If there are any members of the general public here who are not serving on the board as commissioners or alternates, voting or non-voting.
Chair, we have no outside visitors in our queue or in our lobby.
No public comment. Very good. And the next item is new member introduction. So if I may, I'll just say that I'm a returning member, Jeff Strand. I'm a former chair of the Neighborhood and Community Engagement Commission, which is recently decommissioned, longtime neighborhood board member in North Minneapolis, Shingle Creek, and pleased to continue serving on this board. So why don't we go with Director Commissioner Elamine, and we'll just do a brief introduction of new members.
Thank you. Again, like you said, my name is Sharon Elamine, Director for Minneapolis School Board, District 2. So I am the District 2, which is Northside Minneapolis area. Northside residents been living in North Minneapolis for over 30 years. My home, family business, all rooted in North Minneapolis. Children graduated from Minneapolis Public Schools. So just a very invested homeowner, community owner in North Minneapolis, and excited to be part of the NRP and step in and continue to do the work that's needed within our community. Thank you.
Should we maybe just maybe Commissioner Calles Claudio is returning member?
Hello, my name is Christy Calles Claudio. I am a resident of the Bryan neighborhood in South Minneapolis. This is my second year with the NRP. I was a member of the NCEC like Jeff Strand. And kids in Minneapolis Public School. Glad to be here.
Great. Do we want to go to returning member Commissioner Queen Kimmons?
Yes, this is Commissioner Queen Kimmons. As usual, I'm out and about. Long time standing member in North Minneapolis. Advisory commissioner to Jacob Fry, and yes, I have served on NCEC for some years, and just grateful and blessed for the opportunity to be here to serve with this board as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Queen. We can go to Councilmember Kevin Reich, Commissioner Kevin Reich for the NRP.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilman Kevin Reich. I serve on the Minneapolis City Council. My ward is Ward 1, which is primarily Northeast Minneapolis, and a very important 18 blocks of Southeast Minneapolis. And yeah, I'm the link to the full council and have served for some time on this commission.
Thank you, Councilmember Reich. Then we have alternate for County Board Chair Green, Eli Farhat, returning member.
Hi, everyone.
Did you want to do any short introduction for new members?
Happily, sorry, I thought that you were going to move on to a voting member. Hi, everybody. I'm Eli Farhat. I am Commissioner Green's policy aide on the Hennepin County Board. I've been with her for about 5 years, nearly. And I think this is my 3rd year serving as the office kind of liaison. Although I'm not a voting proxy, that may change. But here for any county questions, I report back to Commissioner Green as well. So if there's any information that I can be helpful in providing or translating, let me know. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Eli. And then Stephen, do you want to just do the staff introductions and maybe just mention our, I apologize, am I missing any other members? I see guest on my screen.
I don't believe so. I think you have everyone.
Okay, and so we, just for the new members' benefit, by law, the mayor of Minneapolis, or the mayor is special in statute, has the ability to have a voting delegate alternate. And then the county board has one appointee, the council, city council, park board, school board, and then we have 4 neighborhood representatives, one of whom is absent today, I believe. And then we have a member of the Minneapolis legislative delegation from the state Senate typically, and a state House member, which have to be appointed by those delegations. And then, so we have a couple of members who are not present today or appointed. And then Steve, if you want to do the staff, and then we can move on to the other agenda items.
Sure. First, I'd like to introduce Bob Cooper, who's here. Bob is with Divisional Finance Division. Bob, are you able to turn on your?
Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Cooper. I've worked with the Neighborhood Revitalization Program since before it was a program.
Great. And then my name is Stephen Gallagher. I am the policy specialist for Neighborhood and Community Relations Department, and then the staff person directed to work with the with the NRP Policy Board.
Okay, thank you. So if that concludes item 5, then as is required pursuant to the NRP Policy Board bylaws, which maybe Steve can project, I'm not able to. I apologize. I worked downtown today and I just literally worked till 10 after 4 and had to rush home to set up for this meeting. So I apologize for the political background. I have 2 other meetings after this one tonight. And so the election is required in February. 1-year terms for officers of the policy board, chair, vice chair, secretary. I don't know if you have the bylaws, Stephen, to project, or if members have questions about the duties.
Mr. Chair, I do not have them. The City of Minneapolis changed our website and they are no longer on here.
I happen to have the bylaws, just so I can, if members want to give me a moment, I'll pull up the duties of the various officers. So forbearance for 30 seconds here while I find it. So Article 4, NRP Policy Board officers. And the chair shall be elected annually at the first NRP Policy Board meeting in February by a majority of the votes of the NRP Policy Board. So we have, what, 5 members? The chair shall have the power of general management of the business of the NRP Policy Board, shall preside over all meetings of the NRP Policy Board or delegate such responsibility to the vice chair, shall carry out the duties of signatory agent for the program, and shall perform all duties as prescribed by the NRP Policy Board. And then subdivision B is the vice chair. The vice chair shall be elected annually at the first NRP Policy Board meeting in February by majority vote of the NRP Policy Board. The vice chair shall be elected before the secretary. The vice chair shall, in the event of the absence or disability of the chair, assume all powers and duties of the chair. Subdivision C, secretary. The secretary shall be elected annually at the first NRP Policy Board meeting in February by a majority vote of the NRP Policy Board. The secretary shall sign and execute such documents as require the secretary's signature and as may be necessary to transact the business of the NRP Policy Board, and shall ensure and attest that a fair record of all proceedings of the NRP Policy Board and its committees has been kept in the appropriate minute book of the NRP Policy Board. So Stephen must have that minute book somewhere. A little archaic. Anyway, at this point, we are going to conduct the election. So if Stephen, to avoid any perception, real or perceived, of any favoritism, if Stephen is comfortable for the election of the chair, he can have the virtual gavel for that part of the meeting, and then we'll move on. And apparently the way this is done is if there's any change, we'll just have the newly elected chair take over the meeting, unless they prefer to defer to the next meeting, which is somewhat traditional. But Stephen, I'll defer to you for the chair nomination and election because I'm in that position.
Sure. At this time, I'd like to call for nominations for the chair position. I'll do a second call for nominations for the chair position.
I nominate Jeff Strand.
Commissioner Strand, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
I nominate Sharon Elamine.
Commissioner Elamine, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Last call for chair position. At this point, we have two nominations for the chair position within the policy board. Would either chairperson or Commissioner Strand or Commissioner Elamine like to say any words?
And for me, again, it would just be an honor to be able to serve in the capacity that's needed for our community. However, I do know that Jeff is more familiar with how things have ran in the past, so I'm okay with either way, but I am very honored to be nominated for the position. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Let's see. I will, we don't have a good process for balloting here, unfortunately, but, I'm interested in serving, and I was vice chair under the previous chair, and I have served as policy board chair in the past, so I would, I'm not sure if it's totally compliant, but I would, if the membership would agree, I would certainly volunteer to serve as vice chair and have our new school board representative serve as chair, if that could be a motion made by someone.
I will motion to that effect. Councilman Reich.
There is a motion for Commissioner Elamine to be chairperson and Commissioner Strand to be vice chair. Any objections?
I second.
Commissioner Claudio seconded the motion. At this point, we'll call the question. If I'll run down the list, and if you could say aye or nay. Commissioner Claudio.
Aye.
Commissioner Strand.
Aye.
Commissioner Kimmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Reich.
Aye.
Commissioner Elamine.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres Ray.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. We have 6 ayes. Motion passes.
Very good. So I can conclude the election, and then if the new chair wants to take over the rest of the meeting, or she can have the gavel right now if she wants.
No, I think you can go ahead and take us to the end, actually, if you don't
Okay.
mind. So,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So then for the other office remaining, we have secretary. So are there nominations for secretary? Any nominations for secretary? Calling once again for nominations for secretary.
I nominate myself. This is Queen for secretary.
We have Queen Kimmons nominated for secretary. Any other nominations? People can self-nominate too. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Having called at least 3 times for nominations and hearing no further nominations, it would be appropriate to have a motion to elect Commissioner Queen Kimmons as secretary by acclamation. Unless Steve requires us to have a roll call.
I'm okay.
Okay. Commissioner Claudio,
Aye.
do you so move that motion for
Yeah.
acclamation? Okay, is there a second?
Second, Elamine.
Second. And any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Congratulations, Commissioner Queen Kimmons. Substantive
Thank you.
item number 9 is the neighborhood grievance process. So that was in the agenda packet. So you have the community participation program guidelines. That is a kind of a blue-green booklet.
Sorry, and it starts on page 15, if I remember right.
Like that. So, Stephen, do you have a staff person who's doing a report on that?
I can do a small report on this. If folks have the information in front of them, and what I'll do is do a truncated presentation, as Commissioner Torres Ray asked for this to be on the agenda, and more for open questions from commissioners. The we have a grievance procedure basically that honors the neighborhood organization in their own procedure. There's some timelines that are spelled out within for organizations to respond to a grievance, but essentially what happens before it comes to the city of Minneapolis, or if a grievance comes into the city of Minneapolis, what we ask the complainant to do is to follow the neighborhood organization's process themselves. So we want to make sure that the neighborhoods are aware of the complaint, have the ability to respond to the complaint, make some changes if necessary. At that time, if the complainant identifies a grievance that is specific to the CPP guidelines, our funding guidelines, we then would take in the complaint, and typically would come into me to get some kind of background and see what we can see if we can confirm the complaint, if you will. Oftentimes at that point, we'll bring in another outside entity or someone else in the department. Bob Cooper is an example of this, where being outside of NCR, he's able to provide some independent background and research. Prior to the NCEC, strike that. And then what happens is it comes back from DFD to the department director to make a determination. the neighborhood organization or the complainant at that point could have went to the NCEC to have a appeal of that complaint process. However, since the NCEC no longer exists, the city attorney has stated the decision of the department director is final, until which time we expand the duties of this NRP policy board. And we expect that to happen on July 1st when the new funding program is initiated.
Thanks, Stephen. So the members can look in your agenda packet. This document is the Community Participation Program guidelines, fairly long-standing. And it looks like starting, I think it was on page 12, bottom of page 12, all of page 13 in the document, going into 14 and 15. And so from the last meeting, Senator Torres Ray, I recall, and it's in the notes, but I recall that there was concern about a constituent, that some of the online meetings and some of the, let's say, behavior and correct some of the unwelcomeness and behavior exhibited by participants in some of our online virtual meetings is less than desirable. And so, Senator Torres Ray, did you want to speak to this point now on the agenda?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that this is being included in the agenda. Just as an update, I want you to know that my constituent has been fired from her job in Hennepin County as a result of this incident. So she lost her job 2 weeks ago. So it's a serious issue. It's a serious matter. My constituent is in tremendous distress. And obviously she's reached out to so many people, including myself, and she's just incredibly upset with kind of the lack of accountability in a way. So I don't know what is going to happen in this particular case. I think she has hired an attorney to deal with this. I do think, as I said, that it is important that we have, the procedure in place. Whether that procedure, kind of at the end of the day, what is the accountability? I do not know. For the city, to adopt a position that they will go along with the procedure from each neighborhood association, I presume is the thing to do. Now, at the end of the day, what happened to individuals, I do not know, but I appreciate that that's being done.
If any other members can just do the raise hand, and then I'm watching to see if there are any raised hands or any NRP members. It looks like Stephen has a point.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, Chair, Commissioners, is that during the Neighborhoods 2020 new funding program, neighborhoods would be asked to review their grievance procedure, their policy, and they'll be resubmitted back to NCR. So oftentimes what we found is a lot of the policies were 5, 10, 15 years old, and they just need to be updated. So we'll be taking a look at each neighborhood's grievance procedure during the next funding period.
Okay, any other NRP members have any questions or comments? Or I don't know what the timeline for the city council and mayor is to create this new resident hybrid, whatever the replacement for the NCEC that was decommissioned is. But if the NRP is happy with having the NCR director be the final determinant, the final decider on the grievance policy. Otherwise, the policy board, for example, could suggest to the mayor and council that in the interim, they, push that authority to this body that is still in existence. We have hands up. Bob Cooper and Stephen, are you again? Okay. So Bob Cooper.
Just a quick point of information, Mr. Chair, for grievances that are related to the Neighborhood Revitalization Program, the policy board is the body to whom those come.
Thanks. Since we're scheduled 5 to 6 p.m., if there's no other action, but there is, okay, that's Bob Cooper, so you've spoken. If there's no action, then I suggest we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, Senator Torres Ray, for updating, and we can certainly try to follow that matter in detail.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the action as well, and I'll keep you posted about the developments in that particular case.
Thank you, Senator. And I'm sorry if I didn't mean to skip over you in the member introductions. I didn't see your name, so if you did, you want to just do a quick intro before we move on?
My apologies. No, I was actually in committee, so I was trying to get out of committee to join you. So I was a little late. Thank you for the opportunity just to kind of reinforce the message that our neighborhood associations and the work that we need to do with community and city are going to be so important in March. As you know, we had a pretty heavy discussion in both the Senate and the House about a request that the governor made to create a safe account to provide resources for law enforcement for the city of Minneapolis. And that conversation really deteriorated in the last couple of days. So the work that the city is going to have to do to really work with neighborhood associations and community groups to handle safety and community challenges is going to be very real and very necessary during the trial. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, that might be a conversation that we may have to have in order to just kind of reinforce the message with the neighborhood associations that those days are going to be challenging. They did significant work during the uprising last year when we had significant problems protecting businesses and working with neighbors and doing neighborhood watches, neighborhood watch during the evenings that were the most challenging. So I hope we have that conversation. I think it's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Moving the agenda along to item 10. So we have a potential action item, changing approved neighborhood plans. And so we have in your packets, you have a markup of exactly that policy with draft changes January 14, 2021. And Stephen, who do you have presenting on this?
Steve, you're muted.
I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Bob. Mr. Cooper and myself will be talking about the plan modification changes. Bob, would you like to start off, or would you like me to?
I'd be happy to start. What the heck?
Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the policy you have before you is actually for your approval to send out for neighborhood review for 45 days. That is an NRP policy that no policies can be adopted without that 45-day review period. This policy was originally adopted in the 90s. Most recently, it was revised a couple years ago. The reason it's before you tonight is with the end of the community participation program and the beginning of the Neighborhoods 2020 program, it created this odd little dead end where groups that have used their NRP funds to fund neighborhood priorities as authorized in the community participation program would lose those funds if they weren't fully spent. They, under this current policy, they could not return to their NRP plan. So as we looked at how to update this policy, we identified 5 areas that we wanted to update as long as we were bringing it forward. And I can run through those quickly for the board. The first that Steve has up on the screen now is we wanted a more fulsome definition of what it meant to show community support for a revision to the plan. These plans were adopted through a hearty community engagement process, and we wanted to ensure that any changes to those plans were also supported by the community. So we've fleshed out that definition a little bit. The second change that we've done is to increase the threshold at which a plan modification would come forward to the policy board. We've increased that to 200,000 to put it in sync with the city's process for the threshold at which department heads have discretion for approval. So we've raised that from 100,000 to 200,000. One of the other things that we'll be losing with the end of the community participation process is a process by which neighborhoods can easily identify new strategies that meet emerging needs. Most recently, neighborhoods were able to quickly respond to the pandemic and to the unrest and rebuilding efforts that after the death of George Floyd. Under typical NRP rules, to create new strategies like that would be at a minimum a 3-month process. Under the community participation program, they were able to do that through a month-long process. So we wanted to streamline the process within this policy to allow neighborhoods to more quickly respond to emerging needs. The fourth big change, and this gets to not allowing funds to get trapped in a dead end. Right now, funds can only roll forward from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, the CPP program. This change would allow funds to roll forward or backwards, giving neighborhoods more flexibility to invest their funds in the neighborhood. The final change is one that's near and dear to my heart. It allows for administrative plan mods. A lot of the plan mods we require neighborhoods to do are for minimal amounts of money when they've overspent a particular line item in the contract by 80 cents. We require them to do a plan mod to reallocate that 80 cents to the appropriate strategy. That seemed like a bureaucratic hell. So we decided to create some administrative discretion for reallocations that there really was no discretion about. The money had already been spent and were of little import, a relatively small amount of money. And so those are the 5 major changes that we're proposing. If the policy board agrees, we'll send this out for 45-day notice for review and comment to neighborhood groups and others. And then it will return to the policy board for approval or action, and then it would go on to the city council for final adoption.
Thank you, Bob. Anything further, Steve?
I think Bob covered it very well.
Absolutely. So again, the action. So maybe to start, if we can get a motion to approve this draft, send it out for the requisite 45-day neighborhood organization and public comment. And because I've had individuals contact me as the sort of interim NRP chair saying, who are the neighborhood reps on it? Because people don't know. And I'm not sure that the 4 neighborhood reps know for sure if our terms were extended, if we had actual confirmation of that. So perhaps you'd be so kind as just to, in a sort of a tangential way, just reference who the policy board members are, perhaps.
Yes.
So that the public knows that.
I could
so
do
do
that
we-
at the same time.
Great. So do we have a motion to get this on for discussion? Is there a motion? Chairs normally don't, but I'd be happy to move it. We have Queen.
Yeah.
Queen moved. And
I
did.
second Claudio. Thanks, Claudio.
okay. All right. So Queen moved. Caius Claudio second. Discussion. We have was that Councilmember Reich?
I didn't, but I will.
Okay. Councilmember Reich, and then did Queen, did you have comments?
I do. I do have some comment. I have some comment. Wow. So seeing how that I have some question about how these neighborhood associations have been it kind of been just not being I don't know even how to say it. It's difficult for me to kind of express how some of the neighborhoods have been interacting with me. So I want to point that out. My own personal experience with some of the neighborhood directors and some of the neighborhood people on these neighborhood associations. Not all have been good. And I just want to know, where is there like some sort of task force or what have you monitoring some of the actions or spending actions where it would also be inclusive of people that are renters. So in that 45-day period where people would be able to engage, and those would be my concerns. And I'm gonna yield the mic to that.
Steve or Stephen?
I think Commissioner Kimmons has an excellent point, and about neighborhoods making sure that they are open to feedback from any plan modification. And that was a big discussion with our neighborhoods team, and what was essentially why we created number 7 to be a little bit more have a little bit more teeth about what is expected from a neighborhood, how many people at a minimum should be contacted in a meeting. Previously, we had no standardization there, but more of a general a general statement or a general policy. And this gives it much more of a chance for both NCR staff and neighborhood residents to kind of have an expectation of what would be expected by any neighborhood trying to make a change, significant change of their funding.
Any other discussion? Director Elamine.
I do just have a question, and maybe it'll be shared. But I noticed just the information that came out on Friday, just for us internally. Is there a window of time that information will be given actually to the board to have enough time to review and actually be able to look at all the items that are on the agenda? Because for me, getting it on Friday and then our meeting was today, Tuesday, doesn't give enough time for the board to even make, decisions that are intentional behind what we are overseeing and the things that we are doing.
Thank you, Chair. If I may interject, I think that's a very good point. The NRP Policy Board is required to meet at least quarterly. I would suggest, as the new vice chair after this meeting, And that you, and I would recommend that you as chair and myself as vice chair, and that Queen, essentially the executive committee, should in the future meet with Stephen and plan out our agenda. For example, I would sorry if this is just my nature. I'm a very engaged type of resident, as most people who know me know. And so exactly that comment, Director Elamine, in my opinion, nailed it. And so if this policy board is going to be influential, it has to take the lead on its own business, so to speak. And so I'm not trying to take away anything from the paid professional staff, but in the belief that we all have great life experiences and knowledge to share, and we can benefit from having that earlier engagement in the process, that perhaps you will want to ask that we have a agenda setting meeting, and then we get the materials out well in advance for members to study and contemplate and consult with their constituents, perhaps. So I agree wholeheartedly with your comment. And I would suggest, unless we have further comments, that we could adopt this and get this out for the 45 days, at which time we can start sharing with our networks to review and comment on it. Director Elamine? You have your
Yes.
hand raised, so.
Oh, nope, that was from before. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not seeing anything else in comments. So if there's no further discussion, we'll take the roll call on this matter to, so the action being to approve sending this out for the 45-day neighborhood organization and public comment, after which it'll return to the policy board for its action, and then on to the city council and mayor.
That's correct. Signify by saying aye or nay. Commissioner Cayes-Claudio,
Aye.
Commissioner Strand,
Aye.
Commissioner Kimmons,
I have to ask a question. Are we gonna just hold off from moving this forward and then have a discussion about, I'm confused.
Commissioner Kimmons, we're voting on sending this out for the 45-day public comment period that is longstanding in NRP rules. So it would go out for 45 days and then come back for further discussion and
Okay.
possible enactment.
All right, then my vote is yes.
thank you. Commissioner Reich,
Aye.
Commissioner Elamine,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres-Ray.
Aye.
There's 6 ayes. Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you, Stephen. Well, I think we are at the end of our agenda. I have aren't
Chair,
we number 10?
Could we just, we had one more thing that member wished discussed, and that is the meeting schedule for 2021, how essentially this meeting conflicts with the school board and their activities. Wondering if there is another day of the month that would work for the members, because we really do want to have a quorum at all the meetings that we have here, if it's once a quarter at least.
Stephen, if I can just say too, it was more the first Tuesday is open to be able to attend consistently without anything conflicting with the board. And so if that is an option, that would be perfect. But any other day too, if we can take a look at that as well.
Does the 4th Tuesday conflict?
The 4th does, yes.
Oh,
That's
okay.
finance.
Okay. All right. Maybe we could do a doodle poll of the members and look towards the 1st Tuesday. I think I have a neighborhood board executive committee meeting that typically, because we meet on the second Tuesday. But I would suggest doodle poll or whatever technology the city uses. Would that be reasonable? And then have that confirmed at the next agenda setting meeting when the new leadership meets with Stephen, if that's agreeable.
I would like to set the next
Okay.
meeting, if possible. It would be in April would be our next meeting, and if I'm going through our LIMS calendar, that would be April the 1st, I believe. No, I'm sorry, it would not be. That would be April the 6th. April 6th. And right now, on the city's calendar, there is just one other meeting, two meetings on
Okay.
5 o'clock, and that's the North Side Green Zone, the South Side Green Zone, the council. Otherwise, it's open.
Well, let's see if there's any objection. Is there any objection from the members present about
If we are
next
going
meeting?
to do the first, we need to finish like right at 6 because I have another commitment at 6. So it has to be finished at 6 so I can go to the. Are we going to do virtually? For how long?
I beg your pardon? 4:30, we could
How
start
long are
earlier?
we going to meet virtually? When we are starting to meet in person?
Oh, well, I know that my employer has indicated that they will not have the majority of in-person people working back in the office until after September 7, 2021. I'm the holdover chair of the Minneapolis Capital Long Range Improvements Committee, been reappointed by the council member. And we're talking about having a hybrid process this coming year, but starting virtually. So I would, they're talking realistically, follow the MDH guidelines and CDC, but quite frankly, if President Biden and Governor Walz are ambitious and get people vaccinated by the end of July, 2021, that is.
In my opinion, I think what we should do probably is count on at least continuing our virtual meetings to go through all of 2021, just so we can put it out there for the schedule wise.
So Commissioner Caius Claudio, I think Stephen has to work through Casey Carl, the city clerk, and other policymakers. But if there's no objection and if there's unanimous consent with at least setting the next meeting so that the public can know, that would be the first Tuesday in April, Tuesday, April 6th. Would it be possible to start, say, at 4:30 rather than 5, or does that present a problem? Pardon?
4:30 works for me, yes.
So if there's no objection and by unanimous consent of the members present, we would set the next meeting as 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, April 6, 2021. And Stephen will publish that. And then I think our consensus is to try to have an executive committee meeting with the city staff to plan the agenda and then get the information out to the members much earlier. No criticism whatsoever of anyone intended. So we appreciate all the diligent work to keep this board going. But we have concluded our agenda then, and thank you everyone for attending. I've got a little script here I have to read. So with that, we've completed all items on the agenda for this meeting. I will ask members and staff if there are any other matters to come before this meeting. If not, and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 6, 2021, 4:30 p.m. thank you, everyone, and congratulations to the new officers and Chair Sharon Elamine. And have a great rest of the day. And I think it's Fat Tuesday, right? So to those who observe, Ash Wednesday tomorrow, and we will wish everyone the best. Stay well, be healthy, be safe, stay well, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.